Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Today on a special holiday episode of Oklahoma Gardening, host Casey Hentges makes festive decorations out of leftover okra pods from the vegetable garden. We visit a Christmas tree farm in Enid. A school in Yukon combines gardening, a fundraiser, and the spirit of the season in their annual community service project. We visit the new teaching greenhouses on the OSU Stillwater campus for a primer on poinsettias. And Barbara Brown has a savory recipe that is sure to be a hit at your holiday get-togethers.
Okra is a southern favorite and can sometimes be a little demanding when it comes time to harvesting. A lot of times it can actually get away from us. If you're finding that as you're cleaning your garden this winter you have a few okra skeletons, we have an activity that might be perfect to not only clean your garden but bring a little bit of southern flair to your Christmas celebration. Today we're going to make Santa ornaments out of these old okra pods. So there's a couple of steps that you're going to need and also a few materials that you're going to utilize. And the first thing you want to do is get some paint. You're going to need red, white, and also kind of a blush colored paint. You'll need a black Sharpie or marker. You'll also need a few paint brushes, something to hold your paint, some water to clean your paint brushes, and then of course some old dried okra pods. And really, you can be as creative with this as you want. If you have any other crafting things, you might want to use some pipe cleaners and stuff like that. Bring out all of your craft supplies. In order to make our Santa Claus ornament, we're going to follow a few simple steps. Step 1 is to paint the okra pod red. Step 2, use a flesh-colored paint to paint the face of the Santa about 1/4 of the way down on your okra pod. Step 3, using the white paint, paint around the face of the Santa and down the front in order to create the beard. Step 4, you want to paint above Santa's face in order to make the trim of his hat using the white paint. Step 5, again using the white paint, paint about 1/4 away from the bottom around the okra pod in order to make Santa's jacket trim. Step 6, you can use the white paint to paint the tip of the okra cap in order to make Santa's hat, or you can use a pom-pom glued on there. Step 7, either use black paint or a black marker to make Santa's face. Finally, step 8, use a large gauge needle to poke a hole through the top of your okra pod and thread it in order to make your loop to hang your Santa Christmas ornament. And following those simple steps will lead you to making a Santa Christmas ornament. And depending on how creative you want to be and what supplies you have, you can use a lot of different things and come up with a lot of different types of ornaments. We've got raffia that we've used to make a angel. We've also used pipe cleaners to make some antlers on our Rudolph there. You can also even make Cat in the Hat and the Grinch, depending on how creative you want to be. If you're a little bit concerned about your artistic talent, you can just get some shiny metallic paints or even your simple white paint and paint the whole okra pod a solid color and call it an icicle. These are great for in your home, on your Christmas tree, or even to be outside decorating your front lawn a little bit. Who says okra is just for the heat of the summer? You can also use it to add a little southern flair to your Christmas decorations. Today we're here at Redbird Farm, just north of Enid, and joining me is Kent Evatt, who is the owner. And Kent, there's nothing better than being at a live Christmas tree farm this time of year. Can you tell us a little bit about your farm specifically?
We started this farm in 2014, so we've been growing trees for about 5 years now. So this year will be our first year to open, so we're super excited about that. The trees that are behind us are probably about 4 years old, so it takes about 5, maybe 6 years to grow a sellable size, which is around 7 to 8 foot.
Okay, well they look like they're doing well, and that's the fun part about going to a local place is being able to pick different trees. What kind of trees are we looking at? Are these mainly Virginia pines or?
Yeah, most of our trees are Virginia pine. We have some other pine varieties. We've got some blue ice cypress, and hoping to give people a little bit of a selection, but Virginia pine is mainly what it is.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about somebody who maybe has never had a live Christmas tree. What should they expect coming to a farm?
It's all about the experience when you're coming to a farm. We'll provide you a handsaw, and then you can wander the field, take as much time as you want, pick the perfect tree, and you're going to cut it down yourself unless you need some assistance. But most people don't want that. They want to cut it down, and then we provide wagons. You drag it up to us, and we'll take it. We'll shake it. Any dead needles that are in it. It's something that you don't get at a big box store.
And if there's dead needles, I mean, we should note that that's just typical on all pine trees. That doesn't mean the tree's dying or anything like that.
Right, inner needles of any pine die as they get bigger and bigger. So you don't want those on your carpet in your house, so we're gonna shake that out.
Okay.
And then we're gonna drill a hole in the bottom, and that's for a special stand called a pin stand. That makes it super easy. Instead of the set screws that you're used to, you just pop it on the pin and it's straight.
Okay.
And it's great for us because if we got those trees with a crooked trunk, we're gonna drill that hole straight, and it's gonna be straight no matter what in your house.
Now I know a lot of times you'll see trees going down the road on top of the car and they're all baled up. Do you offer that as well?
We do. So when you buy a tree, we got a baler, and we'll pull it through there and bale it, and then we'll tie it to your car.
And that's all free, right?
That's all part of the deal, and we're happy to do it.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the quality of tree that I can get at a local versus some of the box stores. Obviously, it's nice to keep your money local, but just about the quality.
Right. So trees are just like anything, like any commodity, like meat. They have grades. So your tree farms are the ones getting #1 premium. Then there's #2 field select grade, and then below that is your big box grade. So they call it a commercial grade or the big box grade. And those are cut early, shipped to the parking lot at the store, and they sit there unwatered. So that's the difference. I mean, you're going to get a better looking tree to begin with, and it's going to be better taken care of.
And that leads me to my next question. Once we get this tree home, what should we do with it?
As soon as you get home, get it on water, and just some things to keep in mind. It's going to drink more water when you get it home at first than it will later in the season. So really keep an eye on it, and don't let that water level get below the trunk. You want to keep it submerged all the time. And then other considerations, if you've got heaters, the kind that anything hot air, dry air blowing on it or right next to a fireplace, that's going to dry that tree out quicker. So those are things to think about.
So if you have a floor vent, maybe don't put the tree right next to it or something.
Right.
Okay. And what should we expect to do with it after, is it
a lot
good
of
for
farmers
compost?
offer recycling programs, cities offer that kind of thing.
Oh, excellent.
So you just have to contact your local farm and they'll know.
All right. So where should we go if we're looking for a local tree? You guys are here in Enid, but a lot of people, our viewers, are all over the state. Of course, you can always come to Enid to get your tree, but...
Yeah, we'd be happy to have you, but there's Oklahoma Christmas Tree Association, and the website is okchristmastrees.com.
Okay.
And it shows a map of all the growers in the state, so you can go there and find out.
And we should mention you're the president of that association also. So they can go to that website to find local farms. And then also, what if somebody wanted even more information or is interested in maybe growing their own trees? Is there some knowledge or some information they can get somewhere?
That's what the association's about. So if you go on that site, there's information about member application, and it's a great group of people.
Okay.
So you just get plugged in and we'll help you learn how to do this.
Excellent.
It's a lot more than planting and waiting 5 years. There's a lot to it.
All right, Ken, thank you for sharing all this great information with us.
Thank you.
Greenhouse Center on campus, which is the new teaching greenhouses. And we've got beautiful facilities and they are decorated with some holiday cheer. Joining us today is Dr. Bruce Dunn, who is the floriculture professor on campus and is responsible for growing all of this holiday cheer. Dr. Dunn, tell us a little bit about what all goes into getting these plants growing.
Well, I'd like to take credit for all this, but actually it's my students that are in charge of growing all these plants. Part of the greenhouse management class, so they start the plants in August, and then we always have the sale the Thursday and Friday after Thanksgiving.
All right, so you've got quite a mix of different plants. What's your top seller, can I ask?
Yeah, so probably what's kind of surrounded by us is definitely the reds. Probably 80% of sales are in reds, but poinsettias come in a range of colors.
Yeah, we've got some orange ones, white, pink, and then even this beautiful, is this called Winter Rose?
Yeah, so this one's called Winter Rose. It's a little bit different in our production because for this one we actually put 3 cuttings in it and definitely a different form than what you'd see in some of the other plants.
Well, it's just lovely. And what is it that I need to do in order to maintain a good poinsettia throughout the holiday season?
Yeah, so for the poinsettias that we sell here, usually we'll bag them up because it never fails. That's always the windiest day of the year and also the coldest day of the year as well. So we put them in bags. Whenever you take them home, make sure and pull them out of the bags. And then you can check the soil and see whether it needs additional water or not. So the key with it is, what I tell people is that usually we'll put a foil hat underneath it. So whenever you add water, be sure and remove that foil hat off that pot. If not, the water drains and stays in that foil hat, and that's one way to rot out that plant.
Okay, and they will rot pretty easily, is that correct?
They can if they stay within that foil hat. So yeah, a lot of people, you really have to watch and see if it needs the watering or not. The ones that I take at my house, it goes in the kitchen. And for those, it's generally about once a week.
Okay,
for
so
watering.
just let it drain out in the sink before you go put it back in that foil or whatever decorative container you
Right,
have.
so water it so the water runs all the way through, and then once it stops draining, put the foil hat back on it, and then yeah, you should be good to go.
Okay, what about placement in our home? Can we put these anywhere? We need to be cautious about drafts and things like that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So ideally they need about 6 hours of direct sunlight, but most people don't give those, and they'll do fine for a couple of months, but if you're trying to keep it past the holidays, you'll start noticing that it starts dropping the leaves, or leaves start turning like a light green color, and that's usually because of poor light conditions.
Okay, so it is lighting that causes the red to come on, and also the amount of light that can cause them to revert back to green. Is that correct? How do we hold our red as long as possible?
Right, so that's kind of the trick to the plants. These are short day plants, which also means that they need the long night conditions. So starting about September 20th, we start getting into these short day conditions. And so for a greenhouse operation, a lot of times we have to go ahead and control that too as well with some kind of blackout, or make sure that lights don't come on past 5 o'clock, for example. And being in those short day conditions, it will trigger them to go from an all green plant into all these different colors.
All right, so if you have a poinsettia from last year, should we start putting it in a closet or putting it under a box or something in order to encourage that red color?
So you can do that, and you might catch it for about Valentine's Day at this point. So really we want to be doing that about September 20th. Be at 5 o'clock, it needs to be in dark conditions, and then at 8 in the morning, pull it back out so that it can have light. It can't stay in the dark all the time. So 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock, it needs to have light conditions. But after that, then it needs to go into dark. And so that's the problem in today's households, that people are having activities late, and so if someone turns on light after 5, that's going to trick it into staying in the vegetative state.
Okay, so just watch the natural sunrise and sunset as we go into winter, and that's what they really prefer. Is that
right.
Okay. What about our pets? You often hear about poinsettias being poisonous. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's always a lot of questions about, are they harmful to pets or humans even? Current research has showed that, with mice, and that they can eat quite a bit and it's not toxic to them. And so as far as the animals, actually it's kind of minimally toxic to the cats and dogs actually. So it may cause vomiting or diarrhea or anything, but it's not going to kill your animals. Other ones to think about is going to be holly and mistletoe. Those are actually more harmful to animals.
All right, thank you, Dr. Dunn, for sharing all that great poinsettia information with us. And of course, we are here in the new Greenhouse Learning Center on OSU's campus. And join us next season as we tour these brand new facilities. here at Chisholm Trail Park in Yukon, Oklahoma, and joining me is Steve Lessman, who is the headmaster for Southwest Covenant School. And Steve, thank you for, what a beautiful day. It's a little chilly, but you've got a lot of kids out here doing amazing things in this park. Tell us a little bit about your school, first of all.
Yeah, our school, we're a private Christian school in the Yukon area, and one of the things that we hope is to raise up students who grow and serve their community. And so one of the ways we do that is our annual Patriot Project here in our partnership with Yukon Parks and Recreation.
And we're not just talking about a particular grade. You've got the whole school out here, which covers a range.
470 students from pre-K to 12th grade are out here with a lot of parents and grandparents as well. Over 1,000 people here today at our annual event.
And that's an amazing amount of volunteers to provide work into their community. How many years have you been doing this?
So our school's been doing this for 14 years. It's an incredible partnership, again, with the City of Yukon, with donors who contribute to the students and to our school because of the work that we're doing. So really it's a win-win in every way.
So Steve, tell me a little bit about how this got established.
Well, it began as a fundraiser for our school, and yet we wanted to be able to serve the community. And so each year our students send out letters asking for support and sponsorship for the work they're going to be doing in their community. And so friends and family members contribute to their students' work and their efforts here. And so it raises money for our school and blesses the city and the Parks and Recreation Department.
And even though it's cold, these kids are having so much fun running around laughing. Tell us a little bit about what the actual projects are they're doing.
They're doing everything from laying sod, putting mulch, spreading mulch, planting bulbs, painting. There's a lot of painting that happens. I think we annually paint all the trash cans in the park and just a little bit of everything.
So you mentioned you have pre-K all the way to 12th grade out here.
Yes.
That's a big range to find volunteer work for them.
Yeah, we have a committee of ladies that work with the City of Yukon year-round to develop what projects we're going to be doing, and so we've learned some things that work well for the young ones, and when you get with some of the older ones, they're doing some heavy work. A lot of times there's tree work, and we bring some of the dads bring some big machinery out and do some things that are a great help to the city.
That's awesome. We've been doing a lot with school gardens, and this is a whole nother alternative. If your school doesn't have a garden, take the school to the garden, right?
Exactly.
Get them out into the park.
Exactly. It's just a blessing for us to be able to be here and do this.
Well, I know it's a great improvement and help for the city as well. Thank you so much for what you're doing out here.
Thank you.
Joining us next is Jan Scott, who's the director of Yukon's Park and Recreation. And Jan, you've got a lot of activity going on. Tell us a little bit about what this means for the city.
Okay, this is the 14th Patriot Project, and we probably have 1,000 people here today. So they come out, and you think of all the manpower and all the projects they can complete. And we have probably 10 to 12 park maintenance guys for 12 parks. So what they do today, means like 10 years of work for us, really.
That's
so
incredible.
It's great, and we love it. It's the 14th, and it grows. Their enrollment grows every year. And this is our premier park that we're in right now, and it's our special event park, and it has a lot of historical significance. We're right in the middle of the boot trail. It's, with the Chisholm Trail, it's the shape of a cowboy boot. The parking lot up at the front is in the shape of Oklahoma. And then the pond way over there, the Mulvey Pond, it was the last guaranteed watering hole on the original Chisholm Trail. So there's a lot of historical significance.
So we're actually in the true Chisholm Trail.
Right, we're on the Chisholm Trail, the actual Chisholm Trail, in the middle of the boot trail. So.
That's fantastic. So, and this is also where the annual Christmas display is, the popular Yukon Christmas display.
Right, we have 100 acres. This is 3 interconnecting parks where we have the Christmas lights. So this is the Inn Park, and then we have Freedom Trail and City Park. But 100 acres and over 450 million lights, it's just fantastic. We open November 23rd.
Excellent.
And we say donations are merrily accepted. So people donate money, and that goes back into buy more lights and more displays. And
Well, I've been through the display. It's a beautiful display,
really
and
is.
it's amazing what all these kids are doing for the city out here to help get it ready for our Christmas exhibit.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you
really
for
is.
sharing, Jan.
Okay, thank you.
Today we're doing sautéed mushrooms with Brie. Now Brie is often a cheese that you use for holiday events, and it's wonderful, but it's often sweet, so I'm going to use with sweet toppings. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've got 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We're going to put that in, let that melt a little bit. While that's melting, let's go ahead and look at the Brie. When it's melted down a little bit more, it's medium hot skillet. We'll go ahead and add some onion and garlic and cook that briefly. The Brie is generally a cow's milk cheese. Now when you bring it home, it has to breathe because it's mold on the outside. It's actually a kind of penicillin, so it's mold ripened. And as it ripens, it breaks down the proteins, also breaks down some of the fats. But as it breaks down some of the proteins, you get this ammonia smell that will come out. So sometimes when you open Brie that's been heavily wrapped or kept really cold, it'll give a lot of ammonia smell out, and you'll say, I don't think that's very good. And so, but if you let it sit at room temperature from anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, you can even let it rest a little bit longer than that. You can either slice it and just eat it as is, or you can do what we're going to do with it today, which is bake it a little bit. I think we've got this going far enough along. I've got a tablespoon of minced onion, so a very small amount of minced onion. Try to make it as uniform as you can and fairly small. And then also at the same time, because we're only going to let this go for about a minute, I'm going to add a teaspoon or 1 clove of garlic to it as well. Just stir that around enough that it's not going to burn. We just kind of want to get the raw taste out of it. And so I'm going to move it a little bit quicker than I probably would otherwise. And I'm going to add 8 ounces of cremini mushrooms. Now, you can either get them pre-sliced at the market, or since it's the holiday and I got them pre-sliced, so you can see there's some big bits and little bits, or you can go ahead and do your own. If you do your own, if it's for a party, it's going to look a little bit better because you're more apt to do it a little bit more evenly. I'm adding a ½ teaspoon of both salt and pepper, and a teaspoon of chopped rosemary. And we're going to we're going to stir that around and let that cook, again, still over that medium-high heat until it starts to turn, the mushrooms start to get golden brown. So that may take anywhere from, depending on how high your heat is and how everything is going at your house, anywhere from generally 5 to 10 minutes. You don't want it going really, really fast, but you do want it to start to release some of the moisture. And when you're choosing your mushrooms, make sure that the gills are not visible, that it's still closed. You also want to trim the ends of them. If you're using a big portobello, which is just a baby portobello, then you want to trim the ends too. You probably want to take the whole stem out of the middle of those. You can take the stems out of these also, but it's not necessary. Now, while this is cooking, you can go ahead and get the Brie going. Now remember, you're going to have gotten it out of the refrigerator at least a ½ an hour ahead of time. Put it on parchment, have your oven preheated to 350, and this is also going to go into the oven long enough for it to get warm. You're going to eat the rind, so don't try to peel it off either before or after you bake it. There's a lot of flavor there, and some people consider it sacrilege if you throw that rind away. So you're going to put this in the oven somewhere between 5 to 12 minutes at 350 to 375, and you can give that variation because different ovens are going to have different temperatures. Once it's done, you can touch the top a little bit and you'll see how it's got more give. If you did that when it was still warm, it wouldn't be anywhere near that soft, and so that's one of the ways that you can tell when it's been cooked long enough. We'll see if I can make this transfer. All right, and then serve it with some fruit and some crackers, and then put those mushrooms over the top. And you're going to have people in line to get this one. It is so good. Slice the cheese with as thin a knife as you have, and just make little wedges out of it. It's going to be great. I hope you'll give this one a try. It'll make your holidays even happier. For Oklahoma Gardening, I'm Barbara Brown, and this is Sautéed Mushrooms with Baked Brie.
There are lots of great horticultural events this time of year. Be sure and consider these activities when you're making your plans for the weeks ahead. Next week, we begin our special winter episodes of Oklahoma Gardening. Tune in as we revisit a few of our favorite home tours from the past year. These beautiful gardens are full of ideas and inspiration to get us ready for the coming spring. We want to wish everyone happy holidays, and may you and your family be blessed with joy, laughter, health, and great gardening. We'll see you next time for more TV You'll Grow to Love. To find out more information about show topics, as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure and visit our website, oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. And we always have great information, answers to questions, photos, and gardening discussions on your favorite social media as well. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows, as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater jewel. We would like to thank our generous underwriter, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is also provided by Pond Pro Shop, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Oklahoma Horticultural Society, and the Tulsa Garden Club.